What can you do to structure coaching sessions so that you can collect data usefully and improve the client's situation when they're presenting with emotion that's very strong? Well, in this session, episode 4, I'm going to introduce you to an emotion diary, which is a tool from dialectical behavior coaching, and I'm going to show you how to interpret it. Hey, so this wonderful woman, Crystal, she does these amazing free sessions for coaches on using social media as a tool for your business. This is her email address, and she's run several of them, and I know people have said that they've been very, very helpful. Again, I'm not being paid to promote this. I've just had some contact with her, and she seems really lovely and really skilled, and so you might want to have a look at this address if that's something you need some help with. She seems to be very good at this. Okay, so in this session, the free download is this emotion diary, and I'm going to introduce how you can use this emotion diary and interpret the results of it, and how long you should do that for. In this session. Now remember, you can download all of these tools without signing up, without giving me information, but I do ask, please like and comment on the videos and subscribe to my channel. Helps me to feel like what I'm doing is useful and makes me want to keep doing it. So remember that Carl came initially angry and kind of puffed up. He was defensive and aggressive, and in sort of inviting me into responding the same way. And what I tried to do was to respond with empathy and compassion. And I think because Carl already had the thought that, everything was sort of, really partly at least because of him, 50% of the time, he transformed in the session and said, I'm responsible for this. We invited him into self-compassion. We agreed to a plan. He told an origin story, and we used the origin story to help him commit to a set of values really consciously that are more in line with what will bring him happiness in his life and in himself. So in this session, I'm going to show you how to take the next step from that, collect data using an emotion diary, and then interpret the diary so you can design actions that are helpful for the client. And so the core competencies here: active listening, deepening awareness or creating awareness, coaching presence, and designing action. So this is the emotion diary, and you can see the emotion diary asks the client to record the strongest negative emotion they felt on a day at the end of each day, and then to describe its functions. And so on the left-hand side, you can see Carl is invited to list the emotion and the event that triggered it. And then on the right-hand side, he's asked to list how fast or slow it came, how long it stayed, how long it took to leave, and how he responded. And he does that over 5 days, and then he comes back to me so we can have a look at it and interpret it for action. And so this is what he did, or some of what he did, over several weeks. This is one of the weeks. So I think we did this for 3 or 4 weeks with him, because there was a lot of intense emotion. And so on day 1, on day 3, on day 5, you can see that he presented with anger. And in 2 cases, day 1, day 5, it was about missing a deadline. And on day 3, it was about being humiliated by a colleague in public. And on day 1, the anger came fast. He yelled, so he acted on the anger. He then solved the problem of the deadline, so they fixed it immediately, but the feeling stayed for a long time. And then on day 5, the same. A staff member had missed a deadline, he got angry and yelled, and later he felt guilty, and even though they solved the problem pretty quickly, the feeling stayed for a long time afterwards. And on day 3, he was humiliated. He says, I let him have it. In other words, he got really angry. And then he felt angry and later guilty, and then couldn't sleep that night because he was so conflicted with emotion. And so on day 2 and day 4, he felt frustration, but his response to frustration is a little bit different. He closes down when he gets frustrated. He doesn't tend to speak. and then he notices that feelings tend to leave quickly. So then what we get to do from here is we get to interpret the emotion, the pattern of emotions. And I have to apologize because what I'm going to show you, I usually work at a whiteboard with the client as we do this, and so it's very messy. And so what I'm about to present to you is a little bit messy. So this is the emotional rhythm and tempo for Carl, the first iteration. You see day 1, day 3, day 5, the emotion is very intense and immediate and it lasts a long time. On day 2 and day 4, it's not. And we can add more detail now. So on day 1, day 3, day 5, it's anger. He takes action in response to the anger, and then the feeling lasts a long time. On day 2 and 4, it's frustration. He doesn't act, and the emotion is quick to pass. And so this is a moment of revelation for most of my clients. You know, we think that if we have a feeling that's not comfortable, if we just express the feeling, we will feel better. We'll feel much, much better. But in fact, the opposite of that is true. You know, if we have a negative feeling and we act on the feeling, then what will happen is the feeling itself will stay and it will cause us misery for a longer time. And this makes sense, right? If you want to be good at tennis, then you practice tennis and you do it a lot, and that makes you want to do it a lot, and you get better and better at it. Same with golf, same with anything else. Same with anger. If you get angry and you give in to the anger and act on it, then you get better at being angry and acting on it, and you do it more, and then the result is the angry feeling and complications related to it will stay for a long period of time. And so this is a huge revelation for clients. They realize if I don't act, then I can actually resolve this problem better. And it makes sense, right? Because you're activating pathways, synaptic pathways in the brain, and they become superhighways, right? It becomes just easier and easier and easier to practice acting negatively. And so then we're really looking at anger here in particular, and you can see the triggers for anger are panic and disrespect. These are the things that make him angry intensely and get him to act. And so we're learning some new things here. You know, Carl came to me because his boss said that in team leading meetings, in leadership team meetings online, he was out of control, or his anger was not being managed well by him. But now we see that actually he's getting quite angry in the office, in the country he's in. And that anger is causing problems in the office dynamics. And that panic is a big reason, not just disrespect, but actually panic is a big issue for him. So this is a big learning for me as a coach, because this isn't information he'd given me before. And so then what does Carl learn from this exercise as we do this over 3 to 4 weeks? We introduce tools to help him reduce interrupt his behaviour, of course, because we want him to get better. But you can see his anger really is quite out of control, and his panic is quite out of control. And so what he learns is that anger comes in fast, it's more intense and stays longer. Frustration seems to require less action and shifts faster. Guilt is constant after anger, and it keeps him up at night. Panic gives him emotional flooding, and disrespect or humiliation, especially in public, is a big trigger for him. Excuse me. So the learning is the difference is acting on my emotions. Anger is triggered by panic or humiliation. I need to take care of myself better when I'm panicked or when something feels disrespectful. Yes, I love that. And if I want to be happy, I have to stop acting on my anger and my frustration. Beautiful. So you can download the emotion diary on my website. This is a way that you can use an emotion diary to collect data, and this is how you can interpret the data. And so in the next set of episodes, I'm going to show you how you build action, and I'm going to introduce some skills that you can use in your own work straight away. See you on the other side.